on to our next example. Go through this one a little bit quicker. We have, this is like a positive 1 that we would be distributing. So we don't actually need to distribute. We can just drop the brackets here. Except what's going on here? Plus negative. I think we should write that as just subtract instead. Because anytime you're adding a negative number, that's the same thing as just subtracting that number. So it was already written symbolically for us. It was already in those polynomials. Now I need to group like terms. So I got all my x squareds together. Now I'll get all my x's together. And now I'll get all my constants together. After I group like terms like that, I'm going to combine the ones that are like terms. This question's very similar to the last one. Only difference is I put this negative right here. And so this negative is inside of the brackets. So it's only onto this term right here. Totally different than if that negative had been outside, because then that's like -1 that we would have to be distributing. So it would have ended up changing everything. But because that negative is only on this term right here, that is the only one that ended up being negative. So we'll go through and combine like terms the same way as before. I have -3 of something. I'm subtracting 8 of that same thing. -3 minus 8 is -11. And it's just whatever that thing was before. As long as it's the same thing, volcanic lava monkeys subtract the same way as polynomials do. So then we would say, let's look at these two like terms. -4 plus 6, -4 plus 6 is 2, and I'm just going to keep this thing exactly the same. 2 minus 9 is -7. Okay, let's have a look at an example that's a little bit different. It has been written out in polynomial form for us. So we are going to start by grouping like terms. Again, there's a secret 1 here that we would have to distribute, but it's a positive 1, so everything's going to stay the same. We can start by just dropping the brackets. Then group like terms. So I have, if I kind of color code this a little bit, I have some things with an x squared, I have some things with an x, and I have some things that are just a constant. Only x squared stuff gets to add together with other x squared stuff. So let's rewrite all of my red pieces into one area. And then I'll write all of the green pieces into one area. And then the blue stuff for the constant terms. So I have something there. Doesn't matter what that actually works out to. Like, I don't need to know the number for x, because all I'm going to do is add 9 and 14, and I'm just going to keep that x squared there. So when we have like terms, we're just adding the coefficients. Next is 4x, and last is -17. So you can see we've still got our x squared, we've still got our x, and we've still got our constant, the same way as we've had all the way through. But back at the start, I had my constant was in 2 different places, my x term was in 2 different places, and so was the x squared. So what I've done is added these 2 together to simplify this and write it as a single polynomial. Next up, starting to throw some more negatives at you. I still only have positive ones out here. So distribute a positive one, nothing changes. Nothing changes. The reason why I keep emphasizing that is because in the next lesson on subtracting, we are going to have to think about it. And things are going to start to change on us. So for right now, just know that we've got the easier version. When we distribute, nothing really changes. This is where I would have plus negative again. So I'm only going to write minus. And now I'll reorder it. So I'll group like terms. So that's my x squareds. Then I'll do the x's. And then I'll do the constants. Negative 14 minus 19. If I am doing this question in my head, I would actually probably think, okay, what's 14 plus 19? And then make that final answer negative. Either way, you get that. And then you get that. And then you get that. So to show you the color coding, same as before, we had x squared terms in a few different places. We now have x squareds there. We had x's in a few different places. Now it's only there. And we had constants in a few different places. Now it's only one constant. We can do another example where I have no longer written these in descending order for you. So here we start with our x term, and then there's the x squared term, and then there's the constant. What can help you keep this all straight is if you underline right from the start. So there is the x squared stuff, here's the x stuff, and there's the constants. We do not need to distribute these ones, so I get to just rewrite everything. Plus negative, well, let's just write minus. And I'm going to keep underlining these things. When I rewrite, I always want to do that in descending order, because it's going to make keeping it all organized easier going forward. So I'll go like that. Those were my red terms. So they all had an x squared. Then I'll go like this. Those are green because they all had an x term. And then I'll go like that. And those are blue because they're the constant term. Combining like terms. I'm not worried about what's actually going on here. I'm just looking at these coefficients, and that gives me an answer of 4. Then I'll just rewrite that x squared. I'm not worried about this thing either. I'm just looking at the coefficients. 15 minus 13 should be positive 2, and then I'll keep whatever the thing was. In this case, it's an x. Last one is my constant, and 24 minus 6 is 18. Let's do another one where I haven't given it to you in order. So we will go, again, no need to distribute because everything is just positive 1. Plus negative, I'm just writing as negative. If you want to stop and still underline things, go for it, but I'm going to just write it out all grouped together. Now I'll combine like terms. and that is your single polynomial after we've added these two polynomials together. So what we're going to do next is